Thanks for tuning in to the Day One podcast. I'm Adam Daly.
And I'm Brett Nord.
We're welcoming you back to another week of our show. We're excited to be here and talk about all things Day One and journaling, honestly.
That's it. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah. Well, we're recording this on Friday, so happy Apple product launch day.
Yay.
Some of you may be getting new items, new iPhones, new watches.
A lot of new.
Well, there were some cool products announced, and we've really enjoyed being on the ecosystem that is, it's just a great platform. So we're excited that people get to try out new devices, and I know the team is excited to be working on features that will support those kinds of things.
Sure.
The new watch is pretty cool, and the complications that I think, the possibilities are really neat, and I think our team is interested in looking at what those will be. So
yes,
stay tuned. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
But I do want to mention just a couple of things as far as like our updates go. So we've released version 3.1.1 for iOS, some bug fixes, some updates and stuff like that. In 3.1, we introduced Siri Shortcuts. Now, I'd be interested to know from our listeners how many of you have started looking into these and making journaling easier for you.
Yes.
So I have one tip I want to talk about with Siri Shortcuts at the end, so I won't spoil that now. But if you're interested in getting started with that, if you just open the iOS app, go into Day One Settings, and then there's a dedicated line now for Siri Shortcuts, and we'll kind of explain how to set those up and what possibilities you could do.
Yeah, it's not so easy out of the gate. I mean, it's more intimidating than it really, once you get into it, you understand it.
Yeah.
The initial shock.
But get over that hump if you
right.
if you have that, because I think there's some great ways to set up just some cool shortcuts that you can do to get right into journaling.
That's right. And fortunately, Apple's given us some resources. We'll talk about that too.
Absolutely.
User guide and some things to help.
Absolutely. And I did want to mention, this was a big request and we wanted to put this back, but typing in a Markdown inline link now auto-converts your text.
Yes.
So if you're not familiar with that, we in our previous editor, we had support for Markdown, and you had to type certain characters to get the text to work in a rich text way.
Right.
With our new editor, we had to do some different things to convert that stuff to get it working and looking just great. And so now, if you type a Markdown inline link, which basically is your text within a bracket, followed immediately by the URL in parentheses, and you hit the spacebar right after that second parentheses, it will auto-convert your text into a hyperlink.
Nice.
So that is available now on iOS, coming soon to Mac in our next update.
Yes, which is
2.9.
Stereo.
Yeah, no kidding, right? 2.9. We're getting ready to. I don't want to spoil too much because, actually, hopefully by the time you hear this episode, 2.9 will be out.
Then spoil it.
Because Mojave comes out today.
Right.
If you're listening on Monday, macOS 10.14 has been released, and a lot of great updates in that system. So we're excited to take advantage of some of those, including
dark mode.
Dark mode for Mac.
Yes. Keep it consistent now.
Yes.
It looks great.
And it looks so good.
Rich.
Thanks to Apple for providing system-wide support for dark mode. We get to now take advantage of that on Mac. So if you want dark mode on Mac, go ahead and update to macOS 10.14 Mojave, and you'll have access to that. And that's set up actually in the system preferences, not within Day One. So depending on what theme you have enabled in the system preferences under General will determine if you are in light or dark mode for Day One.
Exactly.
So it looks so beautiful, you guys.
Yes, it does.
Other than that, bug fixes, updates, good stuff coming to 2.9. And as Paul mentioned a few weeks ago, we're still planning on a version 3 for Mac in the coming months. So stay tuned. More updates.
That'll be great.
Coming up on that.
You know, when we were talking about new devices, I just got to notice that my phone and watch was just delivered.
Yay!
So can we speed this up? Can we?
Brett wants to get home now. And
Thanks, everybody. It's been great.
See you
in 2 weeks.
I'm not going to ask you what you got because that's not neither here nor there. But just some cool things to take advantage of. It's an S year. They often refer to that as just a spec update, not necessarily a form factor update. But there's some cool stuff coming out. New processor, better image processing with the camera app and stuff like that. I'm excited about that. I use probably my phone 98% of the time for camera stuff.
Sure.
I mean, I have a couple of other cameras that I use on occasion, like a GoPro.
Kodak Insta. Like that.
I wish. Actually, there's a Leica Insta that I've been interested in.
Oh, really?
I forget what they call it, but they do skinnier, smaller instant photos. But
How about a Polaroid? Saw one of those?
my buddy of mine has a Polaroid. Yeah, one of their classic
Shake it to...
Insta cameras.
Yes.
Cool stuff.
Right, it's fun.
I don't know if I always worry that I would waste the film just because of I'm a terrible photographer.
Right.
But with Day One, with iPhone, I can take as many photos as I want, curate those, put them in my app, and then I get just the best ones. So.
Sure. That's right. That's right.
But yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Me too.
Camera stuff.
Yes.
Anyway.
So the Android users, you can now come back to the podcast. We're going to move on and talk about. We were featured as App of the Day yesterday.
Oh, yes. That was awesome news. And you know, I think Paul mentioned this, but we're just really honored to be featured as the App of the Day on the App Store for iOS. Thanks to Apple for a great platform for allowing us to build on there. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't yet, go. I mean, I don't know if can you still access the story?
Sure.
So if you search for Day One, you should be able to see the story there for App of the Day,
right.
And you can read a little bit about what Apple has to say about us. Now we have no control over that.
Right.
That's
we find out when you do. When
exactly.
Out. Yeah.
Their editors take care of that, and we find out, and it's just as much of a surprise to us as it would be to you. And we're just grateful that happens. Right. So thank you.
If listeners go back to the feed, our Facebook and Twitter, you'll be able to click on the links, even though it's not the current day, App of the Day. It's archived, so
you can still read the article there.
Yeah, and I thought the article was great. Talked about Siri Shortcuts, using Apple Watch.
Yep.
Boom. Yep.
Now, there were some awesome improvements made to the Apple Watch Complication, where you can jump right into dictating an entry. You can check in using your location or recent locations. So some really cool stuff there you can do with Apple Watch if you want to do more journaling on the go, which is very convenient. You know, you don't have to stop and think about it. You don't have to sit out and bust out all your equipment. Just tap it on the watch wherever you are and get that data going.
I think I mentioned a few podcasts ago that when I'm on vacation, that's what I do. Coming out of a restaurant, instantly right there. What I ate, how I feel about it, whatever the location. Do it right then rather than at night. Like, where did I go?
But then you can come back in and write more data later, add photos if you have them. And that way you're kind of living in the moment without being distracted or, you know, the Apple Watch kind of makes journaling an extension of you rather than a burden or something that takes you out of the moment. And
Sure. That's right. Helps you, assists you in living.
Yes.
And recording,
like that.
capturing.
I like that.
Yeah.
So that's about all the updates we have for this week. We're very excited for what's coming. Thanks again for all of your feedback, your input, your bug reports. We welcome all of those things just to make Day One better.
Yes. Thanks to the beta testers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for beta testing and for being willing to do that and all your reports. I think I mentioned this early on in the show, but we care about Day One a lot. We're invested in the product itself. Most of us are avid journalers. And we want it to be the best experience. So, you know, if you're experiencing issues, it's likely we are too, and we want those fixed as well. So there's a lot behind the scenes going on to make sure that we're doing everything we can to have the best journaling app out there. Right. And that's our goal. So.
That's it.
But we're going to talk to one of our users today.
We are. Lou Rinaldi from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
From PA.
Yes. And actually, he has a great tip about Apple Watch. He uses it as well to capture things throughout the day for quick entries. So we'll get into that. But should we? And
Lou, you know, just to plug the Facebook community page, participates there as well.
Does.
So he's got great tips that he's commented on, and I think he's helped out different users with different things. So thanks, Lou, for all your help. We really appreciate it. But let's talk to Lou and get to know him a little bit.
Let's do it.
My name is Lou, and I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Good old PA. I've only been there once. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But first he talks about life journaling, and I think we've discussed this on the show a couple of times, and so he's going to elaborate a little bit about that.
I journal. I like life journaling, I think is the phrase I've been hearing on the podcast. And that's basically what I do. I do it on my Apple Watch, my phone, my iPad. I do not use a MacBook. I'm a Windows guy. That's how I make my living. So, I keep on, and I think I even posted it at one point that I'm ready to buy a Mac just for Day One.
Yes.
Wife will kill me. You know, you don't need to spend that much money just for Day One.
Actually, you do, Lou. No, you don't.
We endorse that. No, I'm just kidding.
He's got an infectious laugh, doesn't he?
Yeah, great.
I love Kevin cracking up.
Yeah,
it's fun.
For the Windows users, there's certainly potential there.
Right.
We have the web beta available. It's read only right now, but I know the team wants to expand on that.
Right.
We don't have any ETA right now.
Sure.
But that's something that's still in the roadmap that we want to do.
Absolutely.
And that'll expand and allow you from any machine be able to journal through a web app.
Sure.
So
I told Lou to set aside a little money every month, and by the time he had enough to buy a Mac, it would probably be out on the web.
There you go.
And then he could use that money for something else.
Go on a trip
Right.
and then document it in day one.
Exactly.
Right?
That's it.
So here he talks about his journey in finding day one.
I was trying to look it up, and I wasn't able to find my first entry because I've added entries from scanning, and it wasn't existing in 1969. So, I've been doing that lately. But I found it, I think several years ago is when I found it, started with it. And I've always journaled, went up and down. I think like most people, I started back in my probably teens, 20s, even did a lot of journaling on paper. Then started several years ago, very heavily, and was looking for the right app. Tried several, and I kept on going back to day one.
Nice.
The clean interface, I was like, I'm able to just focus on what I want to do. It's stable. It's clean. Yes. I mean, it works.
Nice.
And I don't want to have all these extra features that are just like cluttering. I mean, the design is amazing. And I'm a programmer, so I know what it takes to do that.
That's a great compliment, and compliment to the team for their efforts, to Paul for his designs, and just great effort all around. So thank you for that compliment. Let's talk about his first entry. So did he find the first entry? Is that what we're going to hear here?
He didn't. Oh. We'll play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember, and I got so many other ones that I've imported now.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And to find it would be almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because I got right now, I'm looking at 5,851 entries in my journal.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like I said, then it goes back, extremely long because I did imports on it.
Yeah.
Since I've been journaling, I mean, I'm sure it probably was more personal because I use a lot with doing journaling for dealing with my depression. So I do a lot. I have a lot of those thoughts, which is why I've been trying to do more gratitude and trying to switch it, because I was like, eventually if somebody reads my journals, man, they're going to want to lock me up. So I better put some good things in here.
Based on that comment and kind of going back to what we spoke with Lisa 2 weeks ago,
right.
Just journaling and mental health, I think is, there's a lot more there than maybe we even currently understand. Even, with the studies that we've done, I think there's a lot to it that even more of us could explore. Even if you're not like knowingly or diagnosed with depression or anxiety or something like that, maybe as you start to journal, you can start kind of getting those introspections and seeing, okay, maybe there is something I need to deal with here, and that's helpful.
Yeah, and that's so valuable. When we interviewed Lisa, actually when I talked to her first on the phone before we did the interview, she mentioned something that she didn't in the discussion we had 2 weeks ago. And that was when I asked her the question about entries that I don't necessarily want to come back to, reflect to. Like, is it important that I still record those? Because I kind of have a tendency to think, I don't want to revisit this. It's just ugly. And of course, you know the answer. She said, no, that's why you need to record it. And that is the only way you're going to benchmark and see where you've come from. And if you have another time that you're revisiting or you're having that same experience, you want to have an entry that you can go back to reference.
Yeah, makes total sense. So. All right, so let's talk about Lou's journaling routine now.
Yeah, I would say yes. It's like I journal anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was actually just talking to my sister-in-law yesterday about journaling. We were talking to my nephew and her about it. And she likes to do paper. I said, I'm done with the paper. Yeah. I said, I have my phone everywhere. Yeah. But night before bed, I'll usually grab my iPad. I'll be in bed already and start making notes. That's the main one. Mornings, early mornings also. I'm a very early riser, so I'll get my coffee, especially since it's nice out, sit on the porch, and I'll put some in. Evenings are usually more regular because sometimes in the morning I read, So every evening I journal. As far as everything with journaling. I journal, like I said, throughout the day.
Nice.
I mean, some of my journals might be 3 words exactly between my watch, between just typing. I might be walking back and forth.
That's good. I think that speaks to just being able to define journaling for yourself. Mm-hmm. What I do is may not be what Lou does or what Brett does.
Sure.
So whatever that looks like for you is right.
Right.
There's no wrong answer.
I probably should have asked him, when do you not journal?
Yeah.
It's like eats, and sleeps.
Yeah.
Journaling, which is awesome. Just like anytime, jot it down.
Yeah. No, that's great. And again, the design of having a digital journal is with you wherever you are.
Right.
Like now more than ever, I think usually we have our digital devices with us, mm-hmm. and this makes it easy.
But you're right, dead right on how everyone's going to have a different approach. Because for me, I need to have like a checklist item, meditate or whatever, and then have it as something I can check off. Okay, have I written today? Have I done my journal? Yes. I would love to say I have, or have the ability to say that I don't need to put it on a checklist, because it's just
just
part
routine,
of my workflow,
right?
Routine, and something I do all the time. But
habit.
Yes.
21 days to build a habit, right?
I don't know.
Something like
that.
Brett.
That's right. Who knows?
Who knows? All right. So now he's going to describe what his journals are.
Mm-hmm.
The one that everybody has, the very first journal, which is called Journal.
Yep.
I have another journal for school board, because I'm a school board director. Awesome. So I'll put notes about school board meetings, things that I want to remember to bring up when I'm at the meeting, so things like that. Mm-hmm. I have a work one for the company, so my work notes, a food log. Haven't been using that as much, because I also have an app for that that's more dedicated for counting calories, and I also haven't been actually succeeding lately. But I like to get the pictures too, because it gives me ideas and recipes, things like that. A book notes, I'm looking over at it right now, which I just started recently, because I was throwing them into my regular journal and tagging.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to separate them.
Yeah.
Because my regular journal is my thoughts,
sure,
my feelings, things like that. And I really didn't want all of that intertwined. Yes. So I said, I'm going to make just a book journal and use tags for like the title of the book. Mm-hmm. Is how I'm working out. I just started that one recently. A blog ideas. Mm-hmm. So I've been starting to do my blog on there. So I write up there, and then once I feel it's ready, I'll then go and actually, take the text out and put it into, I use WordPress, put it in WordPress, format it, things like that. Great. What else do I have? I have one specifically, it's a subcategory of work. It's for conferences. Mm-hmm. So I go to conferences, and I remember tweeting it a while ago for the one when I started using. I said, I should use it for the conference instead, because I don't like OneNote. Yes. I saw, and I tweeted out, I'm all ready for conference, create a new journal. Day one. Also have a things to check out that I use, and I do that I use the Chrome app a lot, the Chrome plugin, and I'll save links, I'll save things, and I'll put it as a reminder. Sure. Gratitude, and then the one for my nonprofit. The Gratitude I've been using the past 30 days and really taken off. Wow. On that one. I've been really, really using that extensively.
Nice.
After reading a book about gratitude journaling, actually, and doing more than just trying to. I usually put at least 2 or 3 paragraphs a night in that.
Wow, great.
It's not easy all the time.
No.
Now I'm really glad that he goes into the different journals that he uses, because hopefully that's giving listeners out there ideas of what the potentials are for them. Maybe some of those ideas will mesh with what they want to do.
Sure.
So having him kind of explain what those journals look like is a great instigator for you out there, how you want to journal.
Mm-hmm. It's a long clip, but I think, to your point, I think it was good to go into the details. I think he's using the app. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Like
no, it sounds like no, and I totally am with him. I've started journals that I'm like, okay, I haven't really kept up with it.
Sure.
But I kind of like it to have it there as a reminder, like, I should get back into this.
Yeah.
For a while there, I was capturing like my workouts. I would take a screenshot of the activity app so I could see like my route and stuff, and then put the data in there in my journal. And I thought that was kind of cool. I need to pick that back up again. But yeah, just get some ideas of what the potential for different categories, different journals are. Maybe you use separate journals, maybe you use tags. That's completely up to you. But sure. I think these were great helps.
When he mentioned a book journal, we went off on a little tangent because I love to read.
Oh yeah,
Kindle, and we went off on talking about that for a while. And with the Kindle, with your highlights, it saves it to a file. And that, again, went off the rails a little bit on the discussion. But there's a great site, I'll just say this as well, as it's a free site called clippings.io that you can go to. And you actually upload that text file. You just point it to your Kindle, ebook, cool. Physical Kindle e-reader. And it puts it in a nice editable way, a format. Shows you the book, all your highlights. You can export to Evernote or to a PDF or to a Word doc. And it was fun when I shared that with him. He said, I'm actually entering it right now into my things to check out journal.
Cool.
Like, awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
And another thing that got updated were the checklists in our new editor. So now you can see, like, on the timeline, the completion stats of your checklists in each entry. So 3 out of 3 or 0 out of 3 or whatever, and those, you can track those a little bit easier rather than going into the entry and having to verify it every time. So that's a great way to do that as well. Now he's going to talk about his use of audio, which we've had some great feedback with audio recording. Yes. For me personally, I think there may be a few people out there that can resonate with this. I like to record my kids talking. Just to have that preservation. I mean, like video or anything else that we do now to record those early memories. Sure. But just like having a conversation with my 3-year-old is just a blast. You just let him go. We just talk back and forth.
Because it's like 2 3-year-olds talking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a given. But I love going back and listening to that and just preserving that moment. Yeah. Having his cute, adorable little voice. You know what I mean? Sure. So I want to hear his use of audio.
Well, I'll say before you play that, it's interesting you mentioned with your kids being young, because Lou will talk about his kids being teenagers.
Awesome.
And kind of the same thing. Like, I want to have discussions on questions I ask or discussions we have with teenagers. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Now with the audio, I've been finding that sometimes I don't feel like typing, and if it's a little long, dictation's not always working, or sometimes I just want to. My thought is I want to hear what it's going to be like later in my life. Ultimately, I want to get my dad, my kids. I really want to get the kids, and that's the fight. I want to get my teenagers to tell me something so I can play it back to in 10 years, 5 years with teenagers.
Sure.
That's great. Yeah, and that's another application, recording your progenitors, your grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, and get their stories before they move on. Great idea for preserving memories. Sure. All right, now he's going to talk about how he uses Day One on the Apple Watch.
I've been doing, in what I tell people at work when there's anybody that wants to talk and I talk about journaling, is my Apple Watch. Because I'll leave a meeting, and I'm in a lot of meetings, and I'll just real quickly dictate something, and that way I can fill in it later. I also make a lot of use with the activities. So I have it connected to my Exchange email.
That's great. Super easy to use, on the go, wherever you are. Using Apple Watch.
Using for notes, like you said, when he comes out of a meeting, it's right there. You can record it. So
I love it.
Awesome.
And there are ways you can dictate the actual audio. Well, no, it transcribes it is what it does. Yeah. So that's what it does right now.
Again, we're seeing a theme here where he seems to talk about journaling a lot. Yeah. We heard sister-in-law earlier and people at work and
passing along the information.
Yeah, it's good.
It's word of mouth goes a long way. His favorite feature in Day One is what he's going to talk about now.
That's a hard one. Everybody does on your day. I've only started using it on the day actually from after listening to the podcast. I think it would be the activities. I go in and review what locations. Well, that would be activities. I go through, and that makes a huge difference to me. Is I look at either events or where I've been, and add it. I think that's one of the biggest ones I have. I do a lot of pictures. So I put a lot of those in, but still, which is nice because when you do that, it also shows you the related pictures, which is really cool. So I'm able to do that. But I think the activity, because I use that all the time, and I make sure it's hooked up to not only my work calendar, my personal calendar, and my school board calendar, so I could see and get things recorded correctly the way I want them.
Nice.
So I would say that's my favorite.
The great one.
So speaking specifically of the activity feed where you can see, you can add information from locations, photos, some social media. There is, we hope to bring back different sources for that as well. So that's a great way to do it, especially, if you're not sure how to start journaling, if you go into the activity feed, this is a great catalyst where, I don't know what to write. Right. Well, I'll start with a location. Sure. Start with a photo. Start with your Twitter post or whatever it is, right? Yep. Great catalyst to just get you going. And I think that's a great way to do it because you get a review where you were for the past 6 weeks. There's 6 weeks of data in the activity feed where you can find out, maybe I missed something and I need to go back and get a journal entry there.
Right.
Now, I love this theme, so I'm glad it has come back here talking with Lou. We're going to talk about mental health and journaling. I think this is just quality information that we could go on for weeks on the show doing this.
Yeah, we had some great feedback, by the way.
Awesome.
From Lisa's discussion 2 weeks ago, and thanks again to her for
absolutely
the time.
It's extremely important. The way I've been thinking about it, and with the nonprofit that I do, it's for addiction recovery, because I lost my niece to an overdose 3 years ago. So we've been doing a lot and really working with people with mental health issues. She was bipolar as well, is what promoted it. But and with my depression, I've been learning. I read this book about journaling, or about gratitude journaling, and I remembered the podcast, and the fellow was said I got tired of it. I was like, okay, yeah, it didn't rain. And I've been, after reading this book on journaling about gratitude, I've been really focusing and trying to reframe my day. Yes. And, especially with depression, my depression can't get bad. Every single day I try to go in and look back and say, because not just, okay, the sun's shining. I go back, okay, my kids, teenagers, I don't know if you have teenage kids. Oh, yeah. Teenagers get you. Yeah. But then as I go back and start really concentrating on the day, I can think of something really good, because they're teenagers, they're going to rebel. But then there's other things that are good. And I mean, to get usually a paragraph or two every single night of something positive about that day, everybody's gonna have something positive, and it helps reframe it. And that way, and it's been shifting my mood. It's been 30 days I've been doing it, and it's been shifting, really helping shift my mood. Wow. So I've been amazed at it. And it was, a book that I read, I posted about it on the community page. And it was just amazing.
Great. That's just fantastic. I would love to talk to Lisa and Lou at the same time and just kind of frame those things together. Well, and I use that word. He said reframing the event or what's going on, and I thought, that's interesting. I don't think he means fabricate any part of the story, but just getting a different perspective. And I think that's a little bit what Lisa talked about. Is writing the same thing for 3 days, wasn't it? And your perspective starts to change about how you experience the event. Yes. So fascinating stuff. I think there's a lot there to uncover, even more that we can discover here on the show and help pass along to you. So let's keep exploring that as we go along. I hope this is a recurring theme that we get to keep revisiting.
Yes, so for sure.
I was going to talk about the name of the gratitude book that he mentioned.
Yeah.
It's called the Gratitude Diaries, how a year looking on the bright side can transform your life, by Janice Kaplan, Kaplan. And I've been just hooked on this book. I mean, it made me think, because I was like the other person talking about gratitude, and I was like, it didn't rain today, big deal. But then as I start reading this, I was like, and she focused each month of the year on certain things. The first was on her marriage. The second was on her kids. And so I've been trying to, work that, focus on different things. So, and it's been working. Yeah. And then she goes into the science of it and stuff. But I've been coming up with some great ideas on it.
Nice. That's great.
Well, we can post a link. We're not officially associated with her at all, or this book, but I think it would be valuable to post a link in the description below. So check that out
for sure.
And if you want to look into that for yourself. So
I've talked about this on the last podcast or two about wanting to do a book club, and I did reach out to Lou after this discussion I had in August, and he would love to be involved. We did put a post in the Facebook community about it. but we're really looking for October, first week of October, to kick it off.
Yeah.
To do a book club discussion. And excuse me, we thought after having Lisa's discussion the last time we did the podcast, and she mentioned a book called Expressive Writing.
Right.
Words That Heal. We'll also do a link to this, but it's by James Pennebaker, Pennebaker. Expressive Writings, Words That Heal. We thought that'd be a good one for October to have everyone read that wants to be involved in the discussion. And then early November, the first week, we'd have a Facebook Live discussion.
Yeah.
And invite whoever wants to join in, ask questions, discuss the book. And then for November, we have Canadian Thanksgiving on October 8th and American later, U.S. later, that we would do the gratitude book
that makes sense.
Lou just mentioned.
Makes sense. I love it. So if you haven't yet, go to facebook.com/groups/day1community
right.
and join there. We'd love to have you. It's a community for users to discuss how they use day one, best practices, tips, anything like that, to share ideas, honestly. And it's been great for that. We've really, we just, as employees, we just kind of stand back and let it happen. Sure. Occasionally we'll comment here and there, but I have loved seeing what users have come up with and shared with each other. It's been fantastic.
I'd love to find an alternative option for those listeners that aren't on Facebook.
Sure,
or
absolutely.
refuse to be on, because I get that.
Yep.
And yet it would be nice to have, we can obviously talk about it or post the book reviews on Twitter and on. But
you mean like me, who doesn't even have a real Facebook profile? If you've ever seen Adam Shepard on there, that's me. That's right. It's because I don't want a real Facebook profile.
Sure.
But I love seeing that community, and I love participating with that and sharing ideas back and forth has been fantastic.
Sure. I mentioned this I think in the past, but I wish they would have kept that groups app. It was just a separate Facebook groups. Jump in.
That would have been
the
fun.
Groups and out anyway.
His last comment here, which is a plug for us, and we're grateful for that. So I'll let him tell the story.
I just love this app, and I've talked to people, and I was like, "What do you have to pay for?" I was like, "You know what? I don't care about paying for this app. It's well worth the money. You know what I mean? And I get my use out of it. Your mental health is worth it."
Perfect. It's our new slogan.
Your mental health is worth it. I love it.
We should just have that audio file and just send it when someone gives us a low rating or whatever. I don't like the subscription model. Just pay it.
Yeah, no, I think I've beat the dead horse on this, and I don't want to dive too much more into it. But you get what you pay for. Yeah. And you're helping developers keep food on their tables for their family, and that's what it's all about. Sure. We do everything we can to your data is private. We don't have ads. You're literally paying for us to keep building and maintaining the app and supporting it. So thank you
we do
for doing that. We appreciate it. Thank you, Lou, for joining us on the discussion today. I think he had some incredible insight.
Yeah, good guy.
And for all of our guests in the past that we've had discussions with, thank you for being a part of the show and sharing with us. So if you haven't, go join the Facebook group page if that's something you'd like to do. We're going to try and get that book club started for October. So we'll at 30 days to read the book, and then we'll start a discussion in the beginning of November, and then we'll also start the next book as well to get that going. And I think that'll be great just to get people's ideas, their insights, how journaling can be helpful with mental health, with gratitude. Yes. Gratitude journal. I can't wait to get into this. We'll wait. I'll wait. But just like, high level thinking here, there's so much value in a gratitude journal, just being thankful for what you have. Yes. I'm thinking about my first world problems right now sometimes.
Yes, you are. I.e.
Right? No, I won't go into it. But being able to step back and being thankful for what I have and where I'm at, and that's just a huge deal. Yeah. I think we could all benefit from that, regardless of where we're at. Yep. Okay.
And I was going to say last point on that. I loved how Lou said it's changing his mind. Like it's changed not in just the reframing of the day, but he's actually seen results
in his attitude,
his attitude, his mood.
Amazing,
changing his mood.
Briefly, I wanted to talk about Siri Shortcuts. So this was spawned from a post that was done on Twitter, and I really liked this idea. So just to kind of give you ideas of how to use Siri Shortcuts, this user, it's probably so far back in my feed now. I feel bad. I want to give this guy credit, or girl.
We'll definitely talk about that. I think with Siri, as I mentioned, maybe I didn't mention it today, but the workflow app that Apple bought.
Right. Is now Shortcuts.
So now Shortcuts. There's a lot of learning. It's not difficult, but it's a little intimidating to open it up and think.
Right.
There's some that are given some presets, but to create your own, Apple's created a great user guide to be able to get that. I think if you just Google Siri Shortcuts user guide, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
But they've done a great job.
There's a whole table of contents that you can go into and get really deep into the abilities to do that. Now,
yes.
From what I understand, Shortcuts allows you to do longer kind of tasks with multiple actions, right?
Sure.
The Siri shortcut itself, like within day one, is more of like a single action trigger, right? So I say, hey Siri, add a new journal. It automatically opens up into my journal. I'm ready to go. I didn't activate anybody today.
Okay, no. Yeah.
If you're listening to this out loud, sorry everybody. But it's more of a single task. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'll post a correction later. But
I think you're right.
From what I understand, the Siri shortcuts within day one itself are like single action things. But with the Shortcuts app, you can create longer tasks. Like you start a journal entry, you start dictating into it, and then it posts that dictation into the entry itself. So there's some collaboration there that we'll need to work with and get more information on. Sure. But I'm planning on continuing to update the help guides for that. There is one now for add shortcuts to Siri. If you go search that on help.dayoneapp.com, you can see kind of high-level stuff of how to get those started. And then we'll continue to update those as we play with them and get more into it.
Right.
And, we're going to need Johnny back on here because Johnny did a lot of work on these, and so he can help us really dive into those.
I would love a future podcast to invite some of our listeners on to talk about how they're using Siri Shortcuts.
Absolutely.
Because I think in a couple of weeks, now it's still fresh and new, but I think in a few weeks we're going to get a lot of folks, including us, more familiar with it, where we can share. So
I'm going to butcher this name. Well, I'll just say your Twitter username. I found him. It's at @that_way. And
try to pronounce the name.
Wei Xing, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm terrible at Chinese. I know shisha. That's what I know.
Careful.
And ni hao ma. That's all I know.
Oh.
Anyway, he says, I'm loving the Day One Shortcuts. Thanks, Day One team.
It's either a swear word or a pickup line for a bar.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Shisha means thank you.
Oh, bad on me.
And ni hao ma means hello, how are you?
Oh, now I feel terrible. I need to start looking at my gratitude journal.
Oh, man. Anyway, he says, I'm loving the Day One Shortcuts. Thanks, Day One team. You're now my replacement for... Well, I won't say that word. Replacement for something. He says, I love this idea here. When I'm done shopping, I can say, hey Siri, I'm done shopping. Oh, she activated. I knew she would. I'm done shopping. It'll auto jump into the camera app of my shopping list so I can capture the receipt.
Wow. Brilliant.
And that's a really cool thing.
Yes.
Or, do something like, hey lady, I'm done with my meeting, and then have it jump into a notes app where I can grab some notes of of the meeting I was in. I don't know, stuff like that.
Shopping, not shinching, which is shopping. Thank you.
Yeah,
right?
Shisha.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I just thought that was a really cool idea. It's just shortcuts into the photos, the audio, or text writing in the journal, and I think that's fantastic. So go check those out.
Smart.
See what you can do and what you might come up with. You get to come up with your own phrase. You record it into Siri, and then she remembers that phrase. So when you say that trigger phrase,
right,
it launches the app and gets right into it. So. Nice. So check out the links below. We'll add some links to the iOS guide for the Shortcuts app. We're just going to have full of links down here below today. But I think we had a lot of good information.
Sure.
And then go to the Facebook page if you want to join the book club and join in on that. If not, we'll post links to the books below so that if you want to read those on your own, fantastic.
One of our friends of Day One too, Dave Sparks. Max Sparky. He's done a pretty in-depth video guide. He calls them field guides. Which is awesome. On Siri Shortcuts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you can watch screencasts that he does and audio and stuff.
I hate to speak for like the whole Day One team, but I think we're big on collaboration and just like making our collective lives easier, better,
Yes.
Improvement of quality of life. So
MacSparky.com if you're interested in that. Yeah. MacSparky.com.
There's resources.
Let us know.
We're totally willing to share those.
Blog posts.
Yeah, so if you need any customer support or help, go to help.dayoneapp.com. There's actually a little chat icon if you need to talk to customer service, or you can go into the app on iOS or Android. There's a chat there if you go to settings and then support. or you can go to dayoneapp.com/contact, and there's some additional contact options there as well.
You got options.
But yeah, we're here to help you. Just want to make everything better.
Sounds great.
It's working on improvements. So thanks for joining us this week. We're excited to have you back in 2 weeks, and
I'll be gone, actually.
Oh, no!
Yeah, vacation.
You did tell me that.
It's okay.
You'll have to journal a lot about it and then come back and tell us how it went and what you tried out. So
sounds great.
Some Siri shortcuts and stuff, and then we'll get your feedback on it. So
nice. I was actually planning to enjoy the vacation. Now it sounds like a work one.
No.
Okay.
Remember, it's an extension.
Oh, right. Reframe.
Okay. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Have a great couple of weeks. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening.